get too far into the particular mystery, but do you all remember kind of where you are and what we're doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a quick
Yes,
recap.
I would listen to a quick recap if you guys have one. I remember we're in a diner and everybody's zombie-fied. And there's a guy who's almost dead who left us with a cliffhanger about Samantha.
Mm-hmm. Jessica, what do you kind of remember?
I don't remember being at a coffee shop.
It wasn't a coffee shop. It was an inn. It was called the Broken Inn, and it was like a lounge, kind of a rustic. I could see where you kind of come with a diner, but it's the almost like a tavern attached to a hotel, and zombified. I think the people were very very kind of stupefied. I didn't want to give the impression they were undead.
No.
Stupefied. The innkeeper chatted with you a little bit, but seemed just disinterested in what you were all doing. There was a table of 3 that were kind of sitting there stupefied, and one of them was surreptitiously kind of checking you all out, which I think maybe Atticus had picked up on because he can't be lied to. And when Samantha tried to connect to the minds of one of them at random, kind of tuned into just a feeling or a memory, maybe a childhood memory, something of just being surrounded by vicious, angry dogs. And the guy kind of gave a shudder and a start and snapped to and kind of dazedly looked around before going off into a daydream again. I think you had pushed on. You had been in New Orleans the day before, and you went to a dinner at Sam's uncle's house. And we're kind of in the middle of dinner when you were called and asked to get here to Juniper Springs as soon as you could. So you drove through the night. You picked up your RV. The RV had been delivered by looked like a U.S. Air Force cargo plane from Texas to Florida. You picked that up and you kind of rolled into town, pushing empty. Basically, you spent all day the day before fucking around in New Orleans and drove all night. And so you get to the hotel and find this scene when Sam. I think Sam went to mess with the guy. What happened there, Jessica? Sam went to see the guy. Did you go to hit him, or what happened where he attacked you?
I vaguely remember that I was like trying to hit on him to get information out of him. I don't remember what was the information I was trying to get. And then all of a sudden, before I knew it, he hit me? Or was trying to hit me?
See, I think he pulled a blade on you. He had kind of a weird glass bladed dagger that he pulled out. Didn't cut you with, or like a crystal dagger. He didn't cut you with. I think he tried to, and it didn't. He didn't, like, you got out of the way. Atticus came forward. What prompted you to shoot him in the head? Do you remember, Josh?
I think because he attacked Sam, so I kind of tried to jump in between them and fire on him.
Okay. Shot him through the head. Clearly a fatal wound, and his brain matter splattered on the floor behind him, and he didn't die. The brain matter behind him kind of dissipated into first it turned into like a grayish ooze, and then it just kind of boiled off, kind of like when you pour dry ice. You know, when you get a fog machine and you just kind of let the fog dissipate into the air around it. He has a gross wound, I think, as you're talking to him, starting to very slowly stitch back together. You're not dealing with somebody who heals like super crazy, like Wolverine instantaneously healing, but clearly not human, or under magical effect. As he's healing up, enough of his mouth was available to him that you were able to work him into a deal where he agreed to answer one question for you if you would answer one for him. Do you remember the question that you'd asked him?
I don't remember the question.
Trying to remember. I don't either. I remember he gave you an honest answer, but I don't think it was really led to anything particularly revealing. I think you'd asked him kind of what he was doing here, and he basically told you they were here just to terrify the town. Was that right? He was just, they were basically predators. They were here to, not like the movie Predator, but just here to cause trouble. Implying that there's
kill it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cover yourself with mud. Get Jesse the Body out here with his minigun. But implying that there was more than one. And then he turned to Sam at the very end and asked his question of Sam, and asked Sam, "What would your masters have of us?" And that was kind of the note we hung on. Was that question coming into Samantha Phrase?
Well, I remember that her the voices wanted the knife.
Mm-hmm.
The voices wanted the knife when he drew it on you. Yes. They seem to be watching you kind of whenever it's inconvenient. They butt in, Samantha. And so like that knife comes out and they want it, right? When he turns and asks you that question, I think the first thing to put fresh in our minds is that you have not been forthcoming with Atticus, that these powers offer you things and tempt you and whatnot. He knows you have magical powers, but he doesn't know that there's anything that gives you these powers. And Sam may or may not accept their designation as your masters. Like maybe you wouldn't buy that, but clearly this creature has said, "What would your master have of us?" So first thing, he throws it out there. Atticus doesn't know. Second thing, the voices are quiet. There's probably a moment where like the question comes in, and Sam her mind may first go toward what's Atticus going to think, or they're not my masters. If part of her mind would go to like, all right, well, what do you want from him? Like they don't answer. There's no response from them, which normally they jump right in. So I think that question comes out, and what's Sam's immediate instinct?
Probably to tell them that they want them dead. I don't know.
She would kind of tell this thing. How do you say like, oh, they've told me they want you dead, or like how do you say it?
I imagine like the conversation would be that they're like, well, what would your masters want of us? And then I would just look at them and just say they'd want you dead and just leave it at that.
Okay. And let's look at your motivation in answering that way, because that's a good place to start. We might be pushing into a move where you're trying to manipulate them, like you're trying to cause a little bit of fear. You're trying to antagonize them. Or is it just like a really ominous, badass sounding line that Samantha hopes? Like what reaction are you trying to provoke?
Just a badass line that Samantha's hoping that they'll be intimidated by.
Okay. Let's see your moves. You get to roll 20. Nothing jumps out at me as a move that you might be triggering, unless you'd want to do something like manipulate somebody or read a bad situation as you respond to that. But let's put a pin in that. You kind of respond that way. Atticus, you hear this question like, "What does your masters want from you?" And she responds, "They want you dead." What's Atticus's?
I'm thinking that Atticus probably thinks that they're referring to the same masters that I have, or the same bosses that I
The
have.
agency? Okay.
Yeah. Because it wouldn't occur to me that she's keeping anything from me, or that there's this other stuff going on in the background. That would just, I think, be his natural assumption is, oh yeah, she's talking about,
Maybe this doublespeak works interestingly with your ability to never be lied to, because you key in completely that she's bluffing, right?
Mhm.
But you think it's for the wrong reasons. Like, even though Atticus
Right.
can't be lied to, you can lie to yourself, or like it's an
Or
interesting moment of this dramatic irony.
I can interpret something wrong.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so she says they want you dead. Atticus, you're standing right over this guy. I think she's on your left, the way I'm picturing it. He's right in front of you.
I think I still had my gun trained on him.
Yeah, makes sense. And his dagger, I think, did it fall from his hands? I think it.
No, he absorbed it into his
Oh,
arm.
yeah. Okay. So you've got that gun trained on him. The gun went off, and it's been probably about 10 seconds. And I think as you quickly scan the room, the two guys next to him, it kind of now registers. They barely flinched as the gun went off next to them. They kind of looked around, looked at you, and then just kind of shook their heads and started mumbling something. Maybe one of them kind of shied away in his chair a little bit, but during this very brief dialogue, has kind of collapsed again, maybe breathing a little bit heavy. And the owner of the bar or the hotel comes over, takes a look at you guys, and says, "What's going on here? Is there a problem? What the fuck's going on here? God damn it, nothing's going. What are you guys doing?"
We're just talking, waiting for my breakfast.
He looks at you and shit. Yeah, okay. All right. Pete, you okay? And he looks down at the guy who's scared of dogs. And Pete trembles. Yeah, I'm fine. And the barkeep goes off again. So yeah, what do we want out of this scene? What's going to happen here?
Well, we were sort of doing the question for a question thing with this guy, right?
Yeah, I think you have not answered his question yet. Well, I guess Jessica has said you want him dead. He's looking at you, eyes a little bit narrowed. See his moves real quick just to see what he would do. Yeah, he looks to you, and Sam, eyes kind of narrow a little bit, and I think you see his face kind of ripple. He changes into a young woman, and as he does so, like the face reconstructs, his visage just completely rebuilds. Not a young woman that you know, not trying to call to somebody that you know, and she pushes her chair back from the table a little bit and stands up, and your gun is either pointed at her chest now, or you trailed up her forehead, or
I move it up.
She stands in front and just kind of looks at the gun and says, "Well, I guess we'll see about that." And she starts to leave.
I keep the gun trained on her and following her and said, "Hey, I don't think we're done here."
She looks to you and says, "Well, I've kept my end of the bargain. I've answered your questions." And looks to Sam and says, "If you won't play fair, I won't play."
What do you mean play fair? This isn't a game.
This is all a game. This is the game.
A game that you're losing?
You can tell that you annoyed it with that comment. I don't think you know the gravity of your situation. Perhaps you should consider that we may be allies. And she's looking at Sam when she says that. And then she looks to Atticus and says, allies and expendables, perhaps some of us. Please, put the gun away. You don't need it.
I shrug my shoulders and keep it where it is.
Okay. And there's a little bit of a time, and then she's gonna back up and try to leave. As she does that, you guys are free to shoot her, stop her, keep talking to her. But she seems like she's almost dismissing you, and she doesn't really care about the gun. Atticus, you can tell because you can't be lied to. She's maintaining a very good composure. You think that she's not nearly as nonplussed as she's putting on. When she tells you to put away the gun, like super casually, she's actually afraid of the gun. You're pretty sure that you've just about, like, you hurt her very badly, and she does not want to get shot again. But she's trying to really play it off that it's not an issue.
Is she backing away, or is she turning to walk away?
She like take a couple steps away just to be outside of your immediate reach, and then start to turn.
As she starts to turn, I'm gonna just turn the gun like 2 feet to her right, like still towards her, but not trained on her, and fire.
Okay. And what's the purpose of the firing of the gun?
To call her out on the fact that she's really afraid, get her to stop, basically.
Okay.
I want to see a true reaction. I don't want to see the BS tough guy reaction.
Give me a read a bad situation, if you would.
Is that
and
cool?
I'm going off of this is like your plus sharp.
Sharp.
Unless you have a move that modifies that.
No. My sharp and my cool are the same, anyways.
So with a 10, you get to ask 3 questions. You hold 3, and you can spend 1 for 1 to ask questions, and you get a +1 ongoing while the information is relevant. So she turns and starts to walk away. You fire. You see her whole body tense. But normally, like when somebody tenses, like you see it like maybe in the shoulders, like maybe the hands clench, you'll see like muscle sense. You see her go like rigid. You see it almost like you know the non-Newtonian fluids where like it's like a gel that when you smack it, it goes rigid. Like call it gloop or something like that. You see her like whole body almost turn into a statue, and then like soften again. And she takes a step forward. You see her kind of steal her resolve, and she stops moving. She doesn't turn around. She doesn't say anything. She's paying attention. Maybe when you do that, also in the arm where you saw the blade go away, the body kind of constricts a little bit, and you see the lining of the blade like pressing out against her arm. Like it wasn't actually fully absorbed. It's not like it dissolved into her body. She hid it inside of her body, but it's still inside there physically. So you have 3 questions from Read a Bad Situation as she's kind of stopped in front of you for a moment.
Are there any dangers we haven't noticed?
You know that there's a at least more of whatever she is out there.
Mm-hmm.
The people, like you rolled through town. I think maybe even because you were tired and just like either Googled ahead or otherwise like came to the inn was the first thing you saw, and that meant like breakfast and then bed.
Mm-hmm.
You really didn't notice, like as you rolled through town, some trash cans were dumped over. Just shit was kind of run down, like people haven't been attending to things. There was nobody out, even though normally, like at that hour, like maybe the paper boy's going out in a small town, or mailman's doing the routes, milkman's doing the routes, whatever would be going on. There was really no activity. So, like, the only people you've seen here are the shapeshifter thing and the regulars and the innkeeper, and they're dazed. They're fucked up by something, stupefied.
Got it.
So there's something psychological going on.
And I can save questions. I don't have to ask them all now, right?
You don't have to ask them all right now. That's correct.
Okay. I do want to ask the second one. What's the best way to protect the victims? With what I would know from this exchange, I guess. Like, obviously, I'm not going
to. They're in some sort of a daze where they're not really trying to take care of themselves. There's some triggers of, like, at least neuroses or fear going on, like the guy that was like daydreaming of dogs attacking him. And I think
I don't know that I knew that, though. I think Sam picked that up through telepathy, but I don't think I knew that.
Not about the dogs, but I think the kind of like flinching and the way they're casting about, like they're not trusting their senses. There's like a delirium set upon them.
Okay.
And you think that addressing that, like, people usually have a self-preservation instinct, but it's almost like a.
Are they almost catatonic, sort of?
There's a bit of catatonic and probably largely rooted in like sleep deprivation or otherwise.
Oh, that's right. They're trying to stay awake.
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't necessarily look like they're trying to stay awake, but they are staying awake. They're starting to drift off and snapping to, like, they can't sleep. Maybe is more accurate.
Got it. So she kind of froze. Not, I mean, physically just for a second, but she stopped leaving. So I'm going to keep the gun on her again, and I'm going to kind of walk around the front of her. So I guess Sam and I are in front of her and behind her at this point, and still gun trained on her forehead, say, the deal wasn't that the two of you get to ask questions and answer questions. That was a deal with me. I might be the expendable one, but we're not done here.
Sam, as he steps around and asks that question, what is Samantha doing? You know that she meant the Masters. I don't think it's ambiguous to you at all. You probably get a sense that Atticus is just rolling with it. What's Sam's response? You know what? Maybe as she freezes and that dagger is pressed from the inside of her arm just a little bit, the outline, they whisper, "There it is, take it." Like, they're not responding to her offer, but they're urging you to take that dagger.
Is she facing me forward, or is her back towards me?
Her back is toward you. She's facing now Atticus, who kind of moved in front of her, and you're sandwiching her in. She's probably about 15 feet from like a doorway out when you stopped her. I think in your head, you just have a vision of, like, ripping her arm open and pulling, like, a blood dripping dagger out of it. And you know from having seen her shot, like, it wouldn't actually be dripping blood. You think that the Masters are just kind of painting a little visceral gore in there, but
I think I want to go ahead and try to see if I can take the knife away from her.
How would you go about doing that?
I
think as your will solidifies on appeasing the spirits, your senses sharpen. You're pretty damn tired, and I think you both maybe keep in mind that your characters have been up for 24 hours at least at this point, right? And a hard night's drive, and your senses sharpen. You get like a jolt of caffeine for just a moment. You smell and hear like the thick, redolent swamp air. You're in the middle of, Florida, just north of the Everglades. But it comes through pungent, and it actually reminds you of that zone where you went to where the froghemoths came from.
Yeah.
And you see around her, not with your naked eye, but with your ability to see spirits, you see these kind of little black tendrils kind of floating around her legs. And as you just briefly glance back over the table, you see little demonic spirits, kind of black wisps of smoke, dancing on the table, and like every once in a while they'll grab an eye. They're tiny little guys, and they'll kind of lean forward as one of the humans, the men leans forward. They'll reach up and kind of like grab the eyelid and rip it open and just kind of smile and push the head back, and the guy will kind of nod back a little bit. And he'll come up, and one of them will come up and just rake fingers down his cheek, and you see just faint lines, not of blood, but just like, you know, when you press against the skin and the what's the reaction where the kind of goes white for just a moment. You see them just kind of caressing roughly, and these little demons. Your senses are just sharp now, and you kind of see this now scene of these little spiritual influences around her and the guys at the table. I think you even look over and see Gus, the innkeeper. He's got the broom out again, and he's sweeping, and something kind of agitates him. You look down, there's one of those spirits kind of spitting at him, and you see him almost absentmindedly like slap it with a broom, and it goes flying across the room with like almost a comical yelp. But yeah, as you envision the knife and plan to take it, your senses sharpen, and you get a little read of the spirituality going on here.
Can I investigate to see if maybe those creatures are like a part of her, connected to her?
Yeah, absolutely. So roll plus sharp. Oh, nice. So a 13, so you get 2 questions. Similar to what Josh got, you hold 2. 1 hold can be spent to ask the keeper any one of the questions. And I think you didn't use it yet, but you did have a level up available, right?
Yeah.
Josh, did you have a level up available after we did XP at the end? Or you're at 4? Yeah. You've got 2 questions.
I think I'm a level behind her too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is your 5th and it's her 6th.
Okay. And this is gonna be from what again?
Investigate a mystery. Do you want me to copy and paste the questions into the chat log?
No, I just need to find my notes again. Okay. What sort of creature is it?
Okay. And you're asking about the girl, not about the little spirits, right? Just to be clear, I mean, that would be the more likely target of your question, is what sort of creature is a girl. You have heard of different things that can do mimicry, and from watching her shift her face the way she did, you get a real strong sense of a doppelganger. Just and think of in terms of like what we've seen with the TV show Supernatural. You get a sense that the 2 people you've seen her turned into, she has some link to 2 real individuals, and she kind of went from one form to another one. Her body is primarily ectoplasmic, or doppelgangers are, and you recall like seeing her brain splatter out. And when she shifted into the young woman, she actually assumed somebody of a little bit lower body mass. You start kind of putting these things together. You quickly determine she is a doppelganger. But there's something about her that's a little bit different from a normal doppelganger. Often they're perhaps they're predators, but they're kind of like a solitary apex predator. They will consume people and do what they need to do, but they don't usually take necessarily malicious glee or turn attention on themselves. Whereas she seems to A, be part of a group, and B, some sort of like a sadistic little thing. And maybe as you're thinking of that, part of the shadowy tendrils around her breaks off and reforms like another spirit that like scampers across the floor and like climbs up Gus's broom, and you see it bite him on the thumb real hard, and he kind of you see he's got a splinter from the broom, and drops the broom on the ground, and he starts worrying at the splinter as he picks up the broom. So doppelganger, but something slightly different than just a doppelganger.
Okay, and what can hurt it?
The bullet fucked it up, took away an amount of biomass that just turned into ectoplasm and then evaporated. Physical damage can hurt it, and it maybe you get a sense of it's responding to that gun. You saw it kind of freeze up. You don't think it could take another shot like it took. Is that a fair answer?
Yeah.
So pretty much anything that could hurt a person can hurt this thing. Yeah, you have the desire to take that gun. The voices actually come in now, whispering to you, encouraging you to take the gun or take the dagger from it.
I think as the creature's been kind of distracted by Atticus, it's facing him, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna...
And the gun. It's looking at the gun. It's distracted.
Right, so I'm gonna reach behind my back, which is where I have my big knife, and I'm gonna kind of walk quickly and fast and try to stab it in the back.
Because she's tense, and I think as you move forward, the shadows that are kind of bleeding off of her into these little spirits, you see some of them like around the room turn their attention on you, and they all kind of like with eager anticipation. They don't warn her. It's almost like they want to see what's about to happen. Is it interesting if you just get to stab her in the back, or do you want to roll kick some ass and risk it being a fight? I think she's tense enough it could be either way.
Let's go ahead and roll kick some ass.
Alrighty. It's going to be plus tough unless you have a move. You don't have anything that substitutes that. 10. Nice. So on a 10 with kick some ass, you and whatever you're fighting inflict harm on each other. The amount of harm is based on established dangers in the game. And let me double check. I think she does 1 harm with her dagger against you. But we'll have a way to modify that in just a moment. Yeah, the dagger is 1 harm. So she, as you kind of come up and stab her, you sink your blade in her back, and she's going to reach back and kind of let the dagger fall to her hand and slice back at you. However, with a 10 plus, you can choose an extra effect. One of them is suffer less harm, -1, in which case you wouldn't actually get hurt by that dagger. But you have a few other bullets. You can either gain the advantage, take +1 forward, or give +1 forward to another hunter. You could inflict terrible harm, so you do 1 additional harm. You can suffer less harm yourself, or you can force them where you want them.
Okay, but I rolled a 10, so it's not a 10 plus, right?
It is a 10 plus. On a 10 or higher. That's how you read that 10 plus.
Oh, okay. So then, I'm going to go ahead and go with extra harm.
Nice. So you're going to suffer 1 harm yourself, but you're going to do 2 harm to her, because your big knife is normally 1.
Yeah.
You're going to bump it up 2. With that 2 harm, like, what are you doing that makes this even worse? Like, you've stabbed her in the back. She reaches back and slashes at your arm with her blade, her crystal blade. It cuts open some skin and muscle, and you suffer. Go ahead and take 1 harm. Blood is coming out. It hurts like a son of a bitch. But your big knife is in your hand, stuck in her back. What are you doing to make this harm worse?
So I stab her in the back, and then I like pull it out. She turns to face me and stabs me with the with her knife, and then I'll probably just I don't know.
It's lethal too. What you've done kills her. So if you want to make it like super dramatic, how does Sam kill this thing?
Okay, then in that case, let's go ahead and do a knife down into her skull.
Nice. So she kind of slashes and turns toward you, and you just straight down through her top of her head. The stab in the back, if you hadn't added that one extra harm, it was like she was dying anyway. So I think you stab her in the back, and as you pop that down in her head, the density of the skull is already starting to soften. Like she's already starting to dissolve into ectoplasm, and you just kind of smash down her head and drive her to the floor. It's kind of like her body is just barely starting to melt, and you just drive this softening body into the floor. You have a few moments while it starts to kind of like lose definition and fade out. I think Samantha first, like her hand falls to the ground, her fingers open up, and the blade is still laying in the hand. She's got it by the handle. What you see is looks like an ornate kind of a cultist's knife made out of some sort of crystal. No gems on it, but there's probably some maybe spidery scroll work within the blade itself. Probably somewhat prismatic the way it breaks up light as it kind of falls to the floor. The handle is just black, black handled. What is Sam doing as she drops at your feet?
I'm gonna like reach up next to the table that's next to where we're at. That probably has like its rolled up silverware, and grab the napkin. Kind of just toss the silverware that's inside of it, and then pick up the knife.
Okay. And Atticus, you make it clear to this young woman that you want to talk to her. You're not done. The deal is with you. And as you're like laying that out, and she's like eyes to your gun, to your gun, and you see her kind of resolving to like, oh shit, I need to get out of this. All of a sudden, she just like her eyes go wide. She turns and she swings it to Sam, and you now see Sam like pulling the blade out of her back, where Sam is like unprovoked attacked her. Then Sam smashes her down in the skull, and the woman just kind of gets driven to Sam's feet. What's Atticus's reaction? Oh, and Sam picks up the dagger with the napkin.
My kind of hands are up a little bit, and I take a few steps back. Holy shit. All right. So I start putting my gun away, and I'm kind of looking around to see if people are sort of coming to their senses or if they're staying the same. I'm trying to collect myself, but also like hide the gun, hide the evidence. Like,
so people aren't really reacting. Sam, I think the spirits have this kind of orgiastic frenzy where they caper about and kind of in spot doing this little dance, and they turn and like maybe latch themselves onto the people that they've been tormenting a little bit even more. So maybe the reaction from the crowd is like one of them lets out kind of a moan, almost like a subdued wail, and another one just reaches up and kind of starts rubbing at his eyes, and I think the demon there is like blowing into his eyes, just like again prying his forehead and cheek, and maybe actually licking his eyeball in this really weird, grotesque. Her death has not relieved them of their issue. You put your gun away, Atticus. Jessica, keep in mind as a player that Atticus will know if Sam lies to him, but also keep in mind that Sam doesn't know that, and there might be some interesting ways to play with that, right? Sam might. Yeah, Atticus, you put your gun away. People aren't really responding. I think maybe Gus, the innkeeper, drops his broom again, cusses, and comes out. He looks around, and his eyes aren't quite registering what's going on. Like this body is like melting in front of you all. He looks, he kind of shakes his head in disbelief. Says, Jesus fucking Christ, this needs to stop. And there's a bell in the back, and he turns and he goes, and like from having been in countless diners, somebody just rang like the orders up bell. Actually, somebody even says orders up in a beleaguered voice. Like your food's coming. Atticus, you put the gun away. No real response in the room. You have one hold from a read a bad situation. What are you doing?
I'm pulling that list back up.
You don't have to use it yet. You can kind of hang on to this.
I'm not going to use it yet.
What's the best way to protect the victims? You don't know what Samantha found out about this thing being doppelganger. You know it works in a group, though, whatever it is. You know that killing this one didn't save the people. Presumably, whatever's causing it, like there's an hierarchy. There's probably a boss, and this is an underling. You're thinking there's a bad guy to get, right? And this is just a little moppet.
I'm going to look down at Sam. I'm going to look down at sort of the cloud of smoke where this thing was. Like, we'll talk about that later. I think that we need to talk to, is his name Roy?
Oh yeah, our Jeeves guy.
Oh
no,
yeah.
No. The guy, the diner guy, or the
Gus.
I think we need to talk to Gus, and I'm gonna walk towards him. I'm gonna follow him back to the line.
Yeah, he kind of, as you decide that, he's kicking the swinging doors back open. He's got your trays, your plates kind of loaded up in one arm. He pushes the door open. He comes through, and you're like walking around the bar toward him as he's walking out. And he says, "You gonna eat at the bar?" Sure thing. And he starts putting the food out.
What has to stop?
No, these fucking these delusions. This. Oh my god, this is fucking maddening. I keep seeing these things. We all, and looks like, Pete, are you okay? Fucking yeah, Gus. It's fucking insane.
Am I right in my interpretation that it seems like Gus is more lucid slightly than the rest of them?
Yeah.
Like Gus seems to realize there's a problem and the other people just seem like lost in it.
Yeah. That is correct. And he kind of rambles, but no. He grabs the broom and he starts sweeping again, and maybe even get like he's giving himself something to fixate on, whereas the others are abandoned into it. Like he's trying to keep he's trying to stick to a routine to stave off whatever's going on.
Got it. So, Gus, what are you seeing? Tell me what's going on.
He looks you. I think there's maybe a little bit of hope in his eyes. He looks you, and you get a sense of this earnest desire to be told that. And I'm going off your move here, where when you're about to manipulate somebody, you know what they need, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of Atticus's thing. He's got this earnest desire to be told that he's not losing his mind, that he's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. He looks to you, and he's like, you wouldn't believe me, stranger. Please have your meal. I need to sweep that up. And he looks like the now like dissipating smoke of this corpse in front of him.
That's gonna be fine. Somebody else will take care of that. Look around your bar, man. Like, we're the only conscious people in here. Everybody else is
gone.
Is locked away somewhere, right? And I can tell you see what's going on. You need to tell me what's going on. We're the people here to fix this.
So something's going on. I mean, there's got to be something going on. It's the government or like aliens. Like,
you tell me what's going on.
Give me one moment to give you an accurate response here. I
might use my last question here as I'm talking to him. Just so as you know.
So while all this conversation is going, I didn't order French fries, but for some strange reason, there's French fries on the bar table. Okay. So I just
I ordered a lot of food. I ordered a lot of food, so there may have been some fries.
And I'm just like munching on the French fries.
Okay, he stands. He kind of gets into a pose that you think he probably gets a lot. He actually absently mindedly goes below the bar and he comes up with a clean rag and he unfolds it and kind of starts wiping the counter. Then he's just fixated on it, trying to keep his attention on this task. He says it started 2, 3, 4 days ago. He said I was coming to open up before breakfast, and I was just surrounded. I was surrounded. They were everywhere. They were barking. They were mad. I swear to God, one of them was Benji. God, Benji died when I was 8. There was just dogs everywhere, and they were at me, and they leaped. They knocked me down. They savaged. Oh my God! And you see goosebumps rising on his arms. They fucking mauled me. Oh, Jesus Christ. And then I was okay. There was no dogs. I thought I don't know what was going on. And I got up. Jesus Christ. And you can tell he's kind of like confronted with a memory now of just this real, you can tell it was like a terrifying thing. And he said, I fucking love dogs. I don't even know why that. And I come inside, and the people start to trickle in, as they do. It's a slow, sleepy town. Some of the Carney folks come into town, get some breakfast, and the stories start. And this is, what is this, like 2 days, 4? I didn't go to church that morning. It was Sunday. And so now it's like Thursday. So it's been like 4 or 5 days. He says, yeah, that people just started having these weird lucid dreams and waking nightmares, and more we're fucking going, like, the sheriff is out there running around trying to fix the problem, but nobody knows what the fuck it is. Maybe it's in the water. I've been drinking bottled water, and I just saw her stab a kid in the fucking head. Is that fucking ridiculous? And you shooting her in the head. I can still smell the gunpowder.
To be fair, it was him when I shot it. I didn't shoot a little girl.
It was a him. So you saw it too.
I wouldn't shoot a little girl.
That's clarification. So you saw it too, or?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Pete hasn't left his chair in 3 days. He tried to go outside, and came back in a gibbering mess. I don't even know that guy.
So in here is better than out there for Pete.
I don't think it matters where we are, but he won't leave. You can talk to him. I just keep trying to bring him something to drink so he doesn't pass out on me. I haven't slept. I haven't seen him sleep.
Has Pete eaten anything?
I think I took him some food. Pete, are you hungry, man? And Pete doesn't respond.
And maybe a unnecessary clarification, but now that it's becoming clear that these people have been sitting here for days, like, are they deteriorating physically? Like, do they need to eat? Do they need to drink? Are they like sitting in a pants full of shit? Like, or do they look like they've been sitting there 10 minutes?
I as a bad thing, I should have thought of that, and that's a great question. They're clearly disheveled, but I think now, you probably can pick up on, like, because you were right next to the table where Pete was. He's probably soiled himself. The guy next to him may or may not have. You think that Gus is probably taking care of his essential functions? He looks just ragged and
just tired, like he's been working a 5-day shift.
Yeah. I mean, and that's extreme. Like, 5 days without sleep, and you kind of believe that he's gone 5 days. It's not like he worked a double. It's 5 days without sleep. But he is eating. He's probably going and splashing water on his face. Losing his mind, clearly, and aware of it and trying to stave it off. But yeah, I think Pete particularly is disheveled, and maybe some glimpses as you come in of like overturned trash cans. Like clearly, like city services aren't being taken care of.
How many people are in the diner? I mean,
just the two at the table and Pete, and then somebody's back in the kitchen cooking.
So
6, including us.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a potentially an experiment where we could just load these people in our RV, which is sitting outside, and drive out of town 5 miles and see if they are like snapped out of it, or if it's a proximity thing, or if something is actually infecting them to where you could put them on the moon and they're still going to be in the state they're in.
I guess I'm not going to have another issue of a frog jumping on top of the RV again. We just got it back.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
No, that's definitely a plausible solution. You'd want to take all 4 of them in the RV, or what are you thinking?
Well, I really don't care about the guy we're talking to, but I would feel bad leaving these other people that he seems to know. But Sam seems like she's not down for the experiment, so I guess we could.
What was Sam's criticism that you don't want to have like the Froghemus attack, right?
Yeah.
Is that something you're afraid is going to happen, or?
Sounds like you don't want to let strangers in the RV because shit goes bad. It seems to me our other options are to kind of old Western style, like mosey out of the saloon into the town square and see what happens. We can go find the sheriff, who supposedly is trying to handle this. We can take Gus with us as our safari guide. This is like so reminiscent of the old miniseries of The Stand.
Yeah, kind of. I can see that in there.
I kind of want to. I don't know if it'd be an investigate or something else, but I'm kind of surprised at the fact that, like, it's only attacking the people here, but it hasn't even attempted to, like, try to attack us. Like, I can see the black little creatures, but they're not.
Yeah, you still see them around, and they're not moving on you or Atticus yet. That is correct. It's not necessarily they're ignoring you completely. Like when you moved to stab the doppelganger in the back, they were attentive. They're aware of you. They're just not hitting you. So there's something that you're not vulnerable to their attack. Whatever that thing would be.
Can I try to communicate with them?
Absolutely. You can. I think you can speak in. You just double check your character sheet. This site, you can see invisible things, especially spirits and magical influences. You may also communicate with and maybe even make deals with the spirits you see. They give you more opportunity to spot clues when you investigate a mystery. So yeah, like talking to them could be enough to trigger investigate a mystery.
Okay. Aside from like antagonizing all the humans, do they eat anything? Like,
you haven't seen them eat anything, and actually probably are familiar with different ideas of spirits. These things pretty much are little. Oh, what's the Harry Potter tormentor thing?
Like a goblin?
Not a goblin. Goblin. Well,
the pixies, like the Cornish pixies.
No, I'm thinking the prison guard things that are.
Oh, Dementors.
Dementor, yeah. Like they seem to get their sustenance from just aggravating these things. They're not actually inflicting real harm. They're prolonging this suffering and seem to be either amusing themselves or getting sustenance from that. Your investigation might open more questions, more answers about them if you wanted to. You do think that they're probably more of a side effect or or they're the mechanism of what's hurting them, but they're not what's behind it.
Okay.
So you're able to talk to them.
Okay. I'm gonna ask them, why are they still here?
Okay. Go ahead and roll investigate a mystery as you engage them.
Which is sharp.
Was it sharp? Yes, was sharp. 5. Even with a help from Atticus, that would not be good enough to move forward.
Sad truth. I'm useless to you in this situation. My bad.
It's okay.
So, are you talking to them telepathically, or are you speaking to them verbally? Like, does Atticus see you turn, like, speak to the room? Is it one that's like right next to you that's tormenting Gus, or is it one that's out of the table, or?
Yeah, it's the one that's kind of tormenting Gus. Like, while Gus is talking to Atticus, I probably whisper him like, hey you, like kind of try to get its attention and to like come towards me and talk.
Okay. As you ask the question, you turn down, you ask a question to this little demon on the bar. The door gets kicked open at that same moment, and you see the door flies open. A scared mime, all classic French mime, the beret and the white face paint and everything, comes in, and he's panting heavily, but it's quiet. I mean, you don't even hear the breathing. He's breathing. He comes up. He walks up forward you, and takes about 5 feet, five small but hurried steps into the room, and then like hits a wall and presses flat against the wall. As he does that, you watch Sam. You see kind of like a force field of like black, kind of coalesce out from where his hands and face hit. There's some sort of like thing there, physical barrier stopping him. And as he kind of recoils from it, these the black smoke kind of formulates back into a little demon and drops down to his feet, and then he wails back in silent despair, and he slams his hand up, and the little demon shoots up an arm, kind of like Mr. Fantastic or something. His hand goes up and like catches the mime's hand as he like slams in the wall, and you see it providing like this physicality to this like mime's imagined barrier. The mime is kind of throwing himself now at the wall and falls to his knees and just kind of stumbles in front of and just inside the inn, sitting there just racking with heaving emotion. And Gus says, "Jesus Christ, do you guys see a mime? Is there a fucking mime now?"
Yeah.
I'm gonna point my gun to the ceiling and fire and see what happens to the mime.
He looks up with recoil. You actually see as like the plaster rains down and this cloud goes up. You see it kind of roll on a current of like the air conditioning, and it hits and it flattens out against this wall that's in front of the mime.
But he doesn't physically react the way the other doppelganger did.
No.
For.
Yeah, no. He looks like frightened of you. I mean, he kind of scurries back a little bit. Then I think his back is pressed up now, and he turns and like throws an elbow, and you see him kind of wince, and like it's almost like he's in a box now. Instead of just being a wall in front of him, he's like encaged right in front of the door. And Gus, you're shooting a gun off in here. Is this? We need the sheriff. This is. Can you? Are who did you say you are? You're with the government?
Let's not worry about that. We're just here to help. And the mime's okay. He's
with the
a
circus.
mime.
He just got here.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Do electronics work here?
To test that, you might like pull out your cell phone and just check.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have signal.
Gus, did this all start happening when the carnies got here?
He's like pulling through his recollections, and he's trying to sort through what's real and what's wrong. And he kind of stutters, and he second guesses himself a little bit. He says, the carnival's been here for a while, for a couple of weeks before everything started.
So we can blame carnies for some things, but not this.
This shit, I don't. Oh my god, I can't take any more of this. Pete, did you go to the carnival? Where's Pete's? Hey, Tommy, where's Tommy? Tommy was just sitting with Pete. Did you shoot Tommy? Was that Tommy that you shot? Pete, did you go to the carnival? And he's like, yeah, we fucking went to the carnival. Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, he kind of lets on that it didn't start at the same time as the carnival. But there's a relation in there somewhere, probably.
Right. Well, I don't think that we're going to necessarily learn more here. I think that I think finding the sheriff's a great idea. Whether we take Gus with us or not, I guess, is up to Gus. I don't know that you need to. Well, I guess you're sort of nursing your friends here. I don't want to take you away from that.
Where are you going to take us? Where can we go?
Well, we're not allowed to take you in the RV, sadly.
He looks like he's not following the conversation.
And I understand that he's not going to follow the conversation, so I'm not even trying. That's why I'm like throwing out these things that he like.
Okay, it's more for Sam, and he's trying to catch up. But so Sam, basically, Atticus is talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, we can take. I don't really want to take all these people, but Gus seems all right. You seem fond of the mime. Or they can stay here. I don't. These people might starve to death or die of thirst if we do take Gus. I don't know. I don't know if they're so locked in that they wouldn't get themselves water. But I think we need to get out of here and look for what's going on.
Honestly, I'm already going crazy in this hellhole.
I noticed you kebabbed that person's head, which we'll talk about later. I don't know why you did that, but that's all right. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys want to clear out. First of all, as you try to move out, Gus is going to come with you. He's just kind of leadable at this point. Probably 2 days ago, you might have had to talk him into it, but now he's just kind of, you've given him some hope or some at least different thing from the crazy mind-numbing monotony that or delirium he's in. As you approach the mime, there is a physical wall there. He is physically inside of a box. Are you going to try and break him out of it or leave him? You can get around it to get out the door, but like the box that he perceives is physical to you all as well.
I'm gonna pretend to do a mime bit, and I'm gonna like lift a really heavy like a hammer that you'd like break walls with, and I'll just try to like smash at the wall to see if maybe like that registers in his head that I'm trying to help him escape.
Are you actually going so far as using magic?
Yeah, let's go do that.
Okay. When you want to use magic, say what you're trying to achieve and how you do the spell. So it's through pantomime, and I think you also have to do like a but like real half-ass, like Sam Board style. So can you do the music for me?
Da, 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 da.
You do like the whole big pick up the big hammer and swing it at the wall.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll. Roll plus weird. I'm on the wrong screen. 8. So, when you roll plus weird, when you use magic, on a 7 to 9, it works imperfectly. You choose the effect and a glitch. So the effect, let's just say if you were to choose the effect to banish a spirit or curse from the first place or object it inhabits, there's a little demon tormenting this guy, making those walls be real around him. Maybe the hammer like can flatten the demon, like kill the demon, right? Would that be an effect that you'd go for?
Yeah.
Okay. So the hammer works, it does that, but you get to choose one of the glitches.
I'll take 1 harm. Ignore armor.
Okay. So as you kind of spit in both hands and swing the hammer, I think Josh even hasn't, or Atticus has not seen the demons yet, but as she swings, like you see the mace go through the you see your gesture mime with like swinging a club or something at this thing. The hammer hits the demon. Sam in her spirit vision sees the demon kind of splatter this inky black spray all over the walls. The form of the danger that comes out of it, the mime kind of recoils back from the hammer, and as you break through the wall, the mime seems to see the wall shattering in front of him, and you finally hear him say, "Oh, thank you, Jesus!" And he leaps forward, like grabs you in a great big hug of just exuberant appreciation. He's like exalting you, and he topples you over, and like you fall back and like sprain your ankle. You take 1 harm, and your ankle is twisted. And he's just like laying on. Oh my! Oh, these Jesus Christ! Thank you so much. And he rips his beret off and uses it to like mop off his sweaty face, and you can see the makeup is runny and splotchy, and like he smells bad, and he's laying on top of Sam. Oh my God, this is a nightmare! I never want to wear this shit again. He's like ripping off his mime clothes. Sam, you've got a mime on top of you. Atticus, your buddy just seems to have saved a mime from one of these demons, or from whatever's going on.
I'm gonna start hauling the mime off of her.
Okay, he didn't fight you. You can do that. She seems to be affecting things that you're not aware of. Like she talked to nothing, and now she's saved the mime somehow. You haul the mime off.
2 things. Gus, do you have any like a bat or a shotgun behind the bar or anything in case Pete gets unruly? Anything that you keep back there to keep the place from getting robbed?
We don't have that kind of trouble around here. And he goes back there, and he pulls out a. What's more interesting? Does he pull out like a short cudgel, or does he pull out like a 357? Whatever's more interesting. What goes better with your plan?
I was just going to say whatever he's got, he should bring with us.
Okay, yeah. Let's say he's got 357. He'll bring with him.
Right. Sam, what the fuck is going on? I mean, I appreciate that the mime is not a mime anymore. That's good work. Good on you. But the only thing worse than a mime is a naked mime. And yeah, what's going on?
Can Sam use your telepathy to share the site just in brief moments to kind of let him see what's going on? Is that something Sam would be even willing to do?
Yeah, as long as he doesn't hear the voices.
I think you can control that, or at least like we're not going to force that on Jessica the player that he gets that insight.
Yeah.
So maybe if that's interesting, maybe you can kind of share that and quickly explain to bring, and that way Atticus can know what Josh knows as a player about all this shit, right?
I think I'd probably walk up to Atticus and I'd probably kind of touch him lightly, maybe like a caress on the cheek. And then I'd tell him, "Oh, if you could see the things I could see." And then like I put my hand on his chin, and I faced his head in the direction of where the doppelganger was and the black demonic creatures that I see. And I kind of remove my hand from it.
Is that physical contact required? Like when you remove your hand, does the vision go away?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Atticus, you kind of see what we've described. Has Atticus seen things like this before? She's probably talked about the spirits in some ways here and there, but you've probably never been confronted with like the.
Yeah.
Like, these things are around you right now. They could be in your nose. Like.
Do you see that shit all the time, or is that just here?
Those specific creatures just here. Other creatures all the time.
I'm sorry.
My curse to bear.
Yeah. All right. So Gus, we're leaving. Mime, you're in charge of the bar now. Keep these people watered.
I want to go. You're leaving. There's a way. I need to go. This is mind numbing. I need to get back to the. Sure, I don't want to go back. I just need to go. Can I come with you? Please.
Sam, what do you think? What do you think of the mime? What do you think of the naked mime?
Not fully naked yet. But he has ripped off his wiped off the makeup with his hat, and he's like ripped off his striped shirt, and he's like bare chested, just wearing black slacks or whatever they were. I don't know mime shit.
So if we left, would he be free of being antagonized by these creatures, or would he be attacked again?
Safe presumption he's only free for the moment. You don't know what would trigger a new attack, but yeah, you don't think that. Well, no. How would you discover that? I guess that's. No, we don't need to spend too much time on that. Yeah, you think you've cured him of the one little tormentor that's attacking him now, but he still seems to be susceptible. Matter of fact, maybe one of the other demons kind of trots along the ground and like stops his feet and kind of looks up to him, and you see it kind of speculating the ways it could torment him. He's oblivious to it.
Mime, if you come with us, what good are you? How can you be useful?
I'll do anything that you want me to do. He offers his like desperate pledge, like save him, but he doesn't have like a resume to share. Do you have specific things you'd ask him? He's also sleep deprived. Like, do you have specific things you'd ask him, or if you just put that forward, he's kind of searching for words?
Can you defend yourself?
I don't think he can. He
says yes. He takes a moment. He says yes with the conviction of an actor, and you know he's lying. He has no confidence in his self-defense. Atticus knows he's lying.
Okay, so that's a no.
Mime, you're staying. Simple as that. We're leaving. We'll come back later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like going to lock the doors and lock you in, Mime, but we're gonna leave now with Gus, and what you do is your business. If you try to tag along with us, I mean, my priorities right now are me and Sam, and then Gus is a distant number 3. Yeah.
Gus doesn't even respond to that.
We're not going to let you be a liability on mine. So do what you want. Florida is still a free country.
As you turn and leave him, he gives a sullen, "My name's Chuck," like at your backs. Like he doesn't even really respond other than like being aggravated. You keep calling him mime. It's a fucking valid art, assholes.
So he's not coming with?
No, he's not going to force himself with you. As he turns and he kind of looks around the bar and he sees the plates of food on the table, he kind of rushes over there. And as he does, I think you're all walking up behind, and that demon that was at his feet runs past him, jumps up on top of the bar right next to the food, and see his cheeks puff up, and he blows against the mime, and pretty soon the mime starts doing like walking against the wind skit. He can't quite get to the food, and like a poster blows off the wall. Like the wind picks up and starts like blowing anything loose through the hotel, and like the wind like slams the door shut behind you as you two and Chuck, or you two and Gus go walking out toward the RV. The next scene, I think, real quick. You guys, what's your plan in the RV? Is it just to leave town?
Well, I thought that Sam vetoed that, so I thought we were just leaving to go try to find the sheriff.
I think you should try and leave town. Sam, you should agree with that.
I'm going to agree with this. I just didn't want to take everybody because I didn't want to be maybe caught with maybe not more creatures than we're capable of handling, but I figured if we took all of them, all the creatures would try to come along with, and I didn't want them in the vehicle with us.
Got it.
But we can try with one person. I think that'd be safe.
Okay. So we'll hop in the RV. I'll offer Gus a drink as we're firing up the car. And
he gladly takes it and doesn't even notice if it's the good shit. Like, are you giving him the good shit?
No, I'm just giving him the normal shit. The good shit.
The wild turkey.
Yeah. So we'll drive out of town, and I'll drive, and I guess Sam, if you want to kind of keep an eye on him and see how he's doing, and we'll see, like, half a mile, 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, when things start to change, or
so
if things start to change.
As you guys are driving out of town, you get closer and closer. You're leaving town. The circus is just outside of town. It's probably an RV park most of the year. As you're getting by that, the demon is kind of capering. Sam, you see it, kind of crawling around Gus. It's tugging at him. It's tormenting. You pass by the circus. It kind of turns and it's like looking. It's still scrabbling at him. It's like it's paying attention behind it. And then I think right as the RV crosses, like there's the county line. I think maybe the next county over has possibly better budget for a highway system or something, because like the road here is almost like the pavement's real worn down. It's very gravelly, and you hit that fresh pavement of the next county, and the demon just dissipates. And Gus is sitting there just kind of looking agitated. He's raising the bottle to his lips, and then he just slumps over. And for just a moment, it appears that he's dead. And then you just see his chest like, and he's just sleeping very, very deeply. And I think you both realize how fucking tired you are as well. But he's out.
All right. Well, do we pull over the RV and have a crash session?
You guys need the sleep. And you probably are now starting to realize like you were really tired in town, but like at no point did you think like, oh, we need to get a room thing. Like you just like sleep just didn't seem to be a priority. You weren't going for it. But now like you are exhausted. You've been burning the candle at both ends, and Gus clearly needs some sleep.
All right. Well, let's pull to a safe spot in a lot or something, and I'm gonna go back to my room and crash. Sam, don't do anything to Gus that I wouldn't do.
I have like a marker in my hand. Of course not.
You're a child. You're a child.
Oh, shut up! Like you weren't thinking it too.
I think the camera pulls out of the RV, and we see like the passage of time as like the sun goes over the sky or whatever. There is no traffic coming and going. Off in the distance, every once in a while, there's like the sound of a roller coaster going down, and it's like a cheaply built carny roller coaster. Maybe even in the distance, there's a little bit of smoke rising up at some point over the town. But otherwise, we just see like the sun tracing. How long are you guys out here for?
I mean, I'm probably gonna sleep until I wake up. Like
Okay.
I'm gonna say probably about 10 hours. Just
I think after about 10 hours, yeah. Well, is this a good stopping point? Because Jessica has to work in the morning.
It's up to you guys.
I'm gonna cut it here, and we'll come back in. When you wake up, Gus is gonna be much more lucid. I mean, he's still not doing well, but he's
Right.
slept. He'll be a lot more lucid. You'll get some good answers from him. A little time would let me think about what he knows and how his answers would help you. This might be a good kind of breaking point.
okay.
You guys good to call it here?
Sure.
Sure.
Let's do the end of session real quick, and then we'll look at level up options for both of you. End of session moves, and I get these from the Monster of the Week second page of the moves. So in the journal, it's the Keeper Hunter reference sheet, page 2.
Yeah, mine's not wanting to open for some reason, but that's all right.
I can read them out real quick. At the end of each session, the Keeper will ask the
Oh,
following
here we go.
questions.
Okay. I'm good. I'm good.
Did we conclude the current mystery?
No.
Did we save someone from certain death or worse?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Did we learn something new and important about the world?
I did.
Yeah.
I think I absolutely agree. What is Josh thinking that Atticus or the players learned?
Well, I mean, Atticus specifically learned sort of what's always going on under the surface that he hasn't been seeing.
Yeah, and all those spiritual influences in the world, and that Sam is like seeing this shit constantly.
Yeah.
Jessica, is there something that Sam or the players learned different?
We learned about doppelgangers and little black demons that can antagonize people to prevent them from sleeping.
Mm-hmm. Very good. You also, now that I'm thinking of it, you're also back in your library, right? You have a mystic library as an option to you. And so maybe now that you're back in the RV, and you had it in town with you even, but now that you're like physically back in the RV, maybe that's something to think about as we prepare for the next session. So we saved somebody from certain death or worse. We learned something new about the world. Did we learn something new and important about one of the hunters?
I would say same answer as the last question. Yes.
So I would agree, especially about Sam. I would say that then you get 3 of the 4, so you mark 2 experience. In addition to that, Jessica should have gotten 1 experience for the 5 that she rolled.
Yeah.
So 2 for Josh, 3 for Jessica. Do you have ideas on the moves that you want at this point, Josh? Or the extra improvement?
I was just looking at that. I don't know. I have an idea of what I would want to do with the next level up. Seems like taking a crooked move is the thing to do.
Let's see. Charm and Sharp are already maxed, right? No, Sharp isn't maxed
Sharp
yet.
isn't.
Another crooked move. There could be some fun moves.
I don't remember particularly liking the rest of the crooked moves, though. But I'm opening the crooked playbook right now to look.
I'm going to step away for just a moment. I'll be right back.
How early do you have to work tomorrow?
Oh, 8 o'clock. It's not too bad, but
Yeah, I don't go in until 10.
I imagine with the kiddos, you don't exactly get up at 10.
No. No.
Are they typically pretty good sleepers, or do they wake you up quite frequently during the night?
Odie still wakes up during the night. Like I'll probably feed him again in about 45 minutes, like at 11:30ish, and then he'll either sleep until like 4 or 5, or he'll wake up at like 2. But either way, I mean, there will be waking up happening. And my wife is working at like a 13-hour shift today. And so I'll probably let her sleep and I'll be the one to get up in the morning. Would be my guess.
What did I miss?
We were talking about your face.
So while we're taking this this rest, do I get to delete some of the harm that I took this round?
Yeah, I took 1 harm last session from a slice of that thing.
Yeah, let's say I think you'll reduce the harm. You're still going to have kind of a scar or like a wound, but it won't amount to a harm. It'll just be cosmetic. Jessica, you took heal 1 harm. You took a cut in your arm as she turned and sliced you, and then also your ankle turned under you.
Yeah.
I think you won't be hobbled, but your ankle hurts, and you still have kind of a tender wound on your arm, and you're down to just 1 harm. Atticus, you took, was it a claw or was it the dagger that cut you last time?
I don't remember.
Either way, you can heal that 1 harm. You still kind of have the wound, but it's just kind of a cosmetic injury at this point.
Right. I'm not seeing any crooked moves I like. Artifact. I mean, I don't know how it makes sense that I would just randomly now have something.
Normally, like if you took this at the beginning of the character creation, you'd create your character around the idea. But it might be that you've fucked around with that little art, the alien ray technology, and have figured out how to trigger one of these. Either it's 1 armor magic recharge, it's lucky, it's a grimoire, or an impstone, like in addition to what it normally is.
Yeah. It also doesn't seem like he would really be down with that. So he's kind of anti-magic.
A skeleton key? Oh, it's magic with field lock. Yeah, you're not really into the magic.
Deal with the devil I already have.
Yeah, none of them really seem to push real hard.
I think especially with the fact that we move around a lot, I don't feel like they'd really work well.
Recover stash of money from the old days. I mean, you're flush with cash right now.
Right.
Gain an ally might be an option. You push sharp up to 3.
I'll just be a crazy stat monkey with this guy.
Yeah. Makes it hard to get XP. They're all too high.
Right.
You know what? I wonder about. I know we talked about before taking another background, and the decision was it wasn't the same as an advance.
Right.
But because none of these are very exciting, it doesn't hurt anybody in the world if we just open up the next level to you, or give you the option of taking one of the other advanced backgrounds in addition to.
I mean, I do like the idea of taking pickpocket just as a fun thing. I can see that would be a thing from his past that maybe just didn't come up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wouldn't make sense to take like assassin. But like fixer or pickpocket, I think could make sense.
Yeah, I can see either one of those. So if you want to take as a move, pickpocket, I'd open that. Or if you have something at 5 improvements or above 5 improvements, what was your choice there?
I think I'd want to. It's an advance that would probably have to come between sessions, not between sessions, between arcs. But I wanted to talk to you about how you do it when you change this hunter to a new type.
Yeah, and that could be a really cool thing. So what defines Atticus right now is that he's this kind of crooked hoodlum guy who gets by on his con man
On his guile.
On his guile and he's primarily comes up with a lie to any situation. He really can't be lied to. He's very much just a kind of social actor. And that's what defines him. If you choose a new playbook, we would select a playbook that defines him. We'd kind of create him over using the rules to create a new playbook.
Mm-hmm.
We would take over your stats, like you'd port your stats over. You'd port your gear, kind of all. You still have the RV, you'd still have all that thing, and all the equipment that you've got. And then we would look at your current list of moves, and we would decide which ones are essential to who he is. Even though he's leaving the crooked behind, he would still, for instance, I think Atticus would still have Grifter. I think you'd still have Deal with the Devil, which is just +1 to 2 different ratings. You still have Driver, even though we haven't given you a lot of chance to like car chases and shit. I think the vehicles have been central to who you are.
But like Sneaky might go away.
Sneaky, you'd probably lose. Suspicious Mind, you'd keep. So you basically would be a new playbook with no advances, your current stats, and the moves that are essential to who you are.
Okay.
And then look at like for crooked, it says you can take an advance +1 sharp with a max of 3.
Mm-hmm.
The new playbook would have different stats that you can get bonuses to, but they'd have maxes also.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what keeps you from just like trying to get +3s across the board or whatever. Like,
right.
And that's really not the point of the game. You probably would retire the hunter before that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you could change the hunter to a new type if, say, the professional really appealed to Atticus or some other playbook. I think that's the one that I think of the most, but I'm sure there's others.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that would happen between mysteries, probably.
I don't think necessarily. It could. We definitely could work it up that way. But if you had a strong idea and we wanted to take some time to recreate him between the new mystery and now, and what I would probably do is give you a new character sheet, and we'd rename this one Atticus Old as a reference until we finish the new one, and then we would just archive it. We wouldn't have to even delete it.
Got it.
We would change your playbook over. Is there a particular playbook that intrigues you?
Well, a playbook that I thought about at the outset and didn't do because I thought it would be weird or potentially overpowered. I think story-wise could be really fun. Is the monstrous? If there was some way that either the people who are chasing him caught up with him, or if he's like killed, and the way he comes back is to like sweet talk and make a deal with something. So he sort of like reluctantly has this attachment to all of the sort of supernatural and weird and magical that he's so uncomfortable with.
You picked Deal with the Devil. Payment is due either when you die or in a year, 6 months, if you choose two things. I think all you chose was skill. You got +1 to 2 skills.
Right.
2 ratings.
So, I mean, I didn't even have a particular sort of monster breed in mind. I mean, I figured that it could be a bunch of different things. Like it could be that he's killed by something that turns him into something. It could be the devil coming back and taking payment and making him into like Atticus demon hybrid. It could be that he's killed and he's like ghostly somehow. But I just thought from a story standpoint, it could be really interesting because that's what he is so uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm. And I think the devil that did this to you, we really haven't fleshed out a lot of what your betrayal of Frederica de la Grossa was.
Right.
And just to clarify with you, when you spend luck points, that's what triggers the things from your background to really come up for your character. We've only gotten you to spend 2 of them, and so and one time, was it Tatiana? I forget the lady's name. The lady, the daughter, showed up.
Yeah.
The second time, there was another pair that were on your tail now, but you got lost in the desert, and they're still out there looking for you, or wherever they are in the world looking for you. I mean, you spent 6 weeks or whatever in New Orleans, or traveling around. So we don't know where they are now, but I'm kind of waiting for an opportunity to either bring them on based on a GM move or for more fate to be spent. By the same token, Jessica has spent 4 with Sam, which is why her voices are getting a little bit more prominent in her mind.
Right.
All that said, the monstrous might be the devil coming due, and not necessarily killing you, but transforming you. So we'd want to look at maybe flesh out what did you do to Frederica de la Grossa when you made this deal with the devil. What were the terms of the deal that made you a little bit slicker, a little bit, more of a good con man? What did the devil want out of you? And that might help us choose the monster breed that you are in some of these things.
Sure.
So that could be interesting, and that could be something that happens, I think, mid-mystery, or you could make it delay. Let's kind of think about that for a moment. Jessica, do you have an idea on Samantha, what you want to do with your level up?
Oh, yeah. I already had done the modifications, but
so you delete 1 dark side tag?
Yeah, and it was the greed for power. So I still have dark bargain and rage.
Oh, shit. Okay. So they are no longer greedy for power.
Mm-mm.
I've actually been, some of these little things I've been putting in there, it's been them trying to enact a plan to gain influence in the world through you as their greed for power. But they're abandoning that now, and they're going for dark bargain and rage primarily. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Is there any indication to Sam that the interests of the dark side have changed?
No.
Okay.
I think I've just gotten a little bit more meaner in my voyage with Atticus. Not intentionally, but I just...
Stabbing the girl in the head?
Yeah.
Very good. Alrighty. You have any thoughts yet, Josh? You want a little bit of time to think about Atticus?
Well, I have a question, and it's just something I don't remember.
Okay.
So I know with Underworld, my Underworld circumstances that I was hired by something weird. I thought that was Federico de Grossa. I thought he was like a
No, I think you
guy.
were doing a job for Federico del Grosso. I think was a more mundane mobster who maybe bought some weird artifacts, and there was a witch that got you to double cross him. I'd have to go back and watch the video. I don't have my notes in front of me, but does that sound familiar?
That sounds right. I'm trying to figure out where my deal with the devil ties in with that.
I think when you were hired by Federico del Grosso to go steal something, there was a MacGuffin that we never looked at.
Uh-huh.
The witch got it from you instead. You didn't give it to Federico del Grosso, who was your boss and who had hired you, or who I think you were kind of on his employee. You weren't just like a one-time job.
I was like
you were
part
in
of his
mob.
crew.
Yeah. The witch bought it from you instead, and I think the MacGuffin you fucked with it, and it was like I pictured it as being like a genie, right? I mean, it wasn't literally a genie, but like you took the monkey's paw and then wished that you were slicker, and it made you slicker, and you sold it to the witch. But I thought it was something you'd given up, like you had it, and you pushed it down the river, and you no longer had it with you.
Right. I'm just trying to remember who the devil I made a deal with was, like what the circumstances were. Was it the witch, or was it?
I kind of picture, and this is based off a half memory, and I think it'd be good for Jessica to input as much, and of course for you to dictate if it feels good. Atticus didn't really know much about this occult shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Refuses to engage it. Probably didn't really even know who the devil was. Probably was not conscious of making the deal. Perhaps the devil took the form of a one-night stand, and you thought it was glib talk, but when you woke up, you had like these newer abilities.
Mm-hmm.
You might have been handling the genie's lamp without realizing what it was. You just know some creepy witch lady wanted to buy it from you.
Right.
And we're in Miami, so I'm picturing it some sort of like a Cuban curandera or something that got you to sell it to them instead.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it would make sense that maybe you were never quite even aware of it. You just felt your luck turned for the better once you sold that, except now Federico del Grosso wanted to kill you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I thought there was something along the lines of like Atticus was running a bar for Federica de la Grossa, and I had some sort of bad motive against him.
Well, and I don't think I was
separate from dealing with the devil.
I don't think I was running it. I think that I was that was a guy that I was trying to con and take it over.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he was trying to con somebody and take over a bar, or at least probably didn't want to run the bar, but take a big cut, get money out of it. And Sam ended up conning the guy. I think maybe got pissed off that he was doing something, and you got in his mind and you made him burn his own bar down.
Yeah.
But I don't think Atticus knows that Sam did that.
Right.
And Sam may not even realize that Atticus had the business interest in that bar. That's the sort of thing like maybe would come up later and like, holy shit, that was you. Like,
right.
Can they ever get past this old betrayal that they only now learned about?
So I mean, it sounds like I I really wouldn't know what it was, so it could be anything. I mean, it wouldn't make sense if it was like a werewolf or something like that.
And I think so it could be anything. It probably would be something that had a specific purpose in giving you these powers.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we figure out kind of what its agenda was, and that might help us figure out what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So it made you a better con man, right?
Right.
Which stat increases were it? It was probably charm and sharp.
I think it was charm and charm.
Yeah. So it made you more charming and sharper.
Actually, I don't remember if it was sharp or cool. I should look and see. What do I start with as a?
You have a choice of stat lines.
Look, we can figure this out. It's not super important, but where's it? Where's the link to playbooks? Cricket, continue. Stat lines. I mean, I'm sure it would have taken the. I think I took the second one from the bottom. Charm +2, cool +1, sharp +1, tough 0, weird -1. I think is what I took.
And you have since added +1 tough and +1 cool. So your tough would be down to 0 and your cool would be down to 1.
So I took +1 to charm and sharp.
Okay. So once you be charming, once you be sharp, did it have any foresight? Like, was the thing interested in getting you on the run because it could foresee that you'd be picked up by this agency and it has some sort of design on the agency? Or is it actually the power that's behind the agency you're working for that we don't really know about?
I don't think it would be part of the agency. It seems to me more interesting if it's like if there's sort of competing interests, you know,
adversarial to the agency,
or not even, yeah, or it could be. I don't know, but I think it's more interesting if it's not somebody in the agency. And I think that would be my character taking up too much of the story if that were the case. It would be like if the dark passengers that Sam have are running the agency.
I have a kind of interesting idea. Let me just pop this around my head right now. And you want to do this to push toward being able to take something like, or to take the monstrous. What kind of monstrous would it be interesting for you to turn into?
I don't know. I mean,
like, what would your curse be to feed? Vulnerability, pure drive, or dark master?
I wouldn't want to take dark master, although I think that since I have deal with the devil, I think that'd be a natural side effect. But I'd almost not want to take it. I'd want to take one of the other ones instead, because I think it's more interesting, and you could still play with the fact that this devil is still hanging around. Or maybe if I don't take that, then the deal is done and they've turned me into what they've turned me into, and now they're done with me. I don't know.
Maybe something like feed, and you have to like feed on like betrayal, like the trust of people. You always have to leave like broken people behind you, or on some sort of emotional feeder instead of blood.
Yeah.
Or a special vulnerability.
Did you have a type of creature in mind that you were thinking of?
It might be interesting to tie it in some way, and it could go one of two ways. It could be that Sam's father cavorted with the dark powers, and something has happened to Sam's father to pull him out of the picture. We don't know if he fully went over to them, or if he escaped them, or if he got corrupted some other way. But they're interested in him, and they're definitely interested in Sam. Perhaps he is in some way tied to the devil that gave you the thing. Maybe he was the witch, something like that. Or alternatively, Sam's mother is part of a kind of more light side type coven. But just because they're not, they oppose the dark powers doesn't necessarily mean they're good, or at least good to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they could have offered you the deal without you knowing it, which would kind of bring it all back into why you two are together, getting thrown together, this disparate couple.
So just in terms of the like nuts and bolts of it, if it's, I guess either way, whether it's her father or her mother, what monster does that take the form of?
The thing that gave you the power the devil you made a deal with would not necessarily be a monster. It's something powerful, right? That could turn you into a monster. Okay. So whatever you turn into, but if you turn into something, if the thing that converted you to monstrous, let's look at Frankenstein's, Dr. Frankenstein. He creates Frankenstein's monster out of a desire to prove that science triumphs God and that reason triumphs superstition and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So his intention in making the monstrous was not necessarily bad. It was ego. I mean, it turned out to be hubris and things, and he suffers for it, and the monster suffers for it. And when he creates the Bride of Frankenstein, it's to give the monster a companion. So just because you were made monstrous does not necessarily mean that you were being made evil.
Right.
If it's more interesting that the purpose of making you special and powerful was an evil purpose, it may have been Sam's dad. And if it was to actually create like a champion of some sort, it may have been Sam's mom. Before you go too far with that, is it interesting to Jessica if Sam's parents are involved in this process, or is that cheap or unfulfilling for Jessica?
I don't think my mother's still alive. I think my dad is dead to me, but not necessarily dead.
I have a sense that whether your mom or like the people she operated with, they're out there and they're generally aware of you, if not necessarily watching you constantly. And the same thing with your father. If he's dead, he's not gone, right? If he's not dead, he's in the shadows, and if he is dead, then he's still in the shadows.
Well, no. I think in my mind, like, he's dead to me, meaning like I want nothing to do with him, but he's still probably out there. Whereas my mom, I think she's deceased.
And I have a vague sense of your father as having failed to live up to the expectation of the dark powers, and it probably cast off, whether killed or not. I kind of have that sense, but it could be that he pledged to a different Dark Master instead or whatever. But I think depending on as long as you're not concerned about tying Atticus to that, and then if Josh accepts it, he might not be interested in that at all. But depending on what the purpose of giving Atticus powers was, that might help us figure out who did it. What moves are interesting to Atticus? That might give us some insight into who could have given it to you.
Honestly, there's a few of them that aren't, because they sort of circumvent things that he already does, like unnatural appeal doesn't make sense. But otherwise, I'm sort of open. Also, mental dominion doesn't really.
Dark Negotiator, you basically just become Atticus against monsters.
Yeah. I mean, they all sound cool. I was more just interested in it for the sort of story aspects of it. I mean, Shapeshifter could be cool. Dark Negotiator could be cool. Yeah, I don't know.
And keep in mind, like, you would keep all of your essential moves that you have now. So yeah, I don't think mental dominion would necessarily, because you're so invested in charming, you don't want to kind of get it as a free.
Right, and same with unnatural appeal.
But Dark Negotiator, I think, would be good. Shapeshifter, Unquenchable Vitality might be like interesting if you were going to get a little bit more physical. We're not playing a very physical game right now, though. I mean, so far
Right.
you guys don't really go toe to toe with scary shit very often.
Yeah, Immortal could be cool as well.
That could definitely be something that would appeal to Atticus, right? Whenever you suffer harm, you suffer one harm less. It's permanent 1 armor against even things that ignore armor.
Well, and the not aging or sickening thing I think is cool too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyways, that's what I had in mind. I know that Jessica needs to get some sleep, so if we want to kind of put a pin in it and touch base again next time we play, and we can all sort of think of ideas, or at least, or if you want to keep chatting about it now, I'm up. So
Jessica, you need to get home. You want me to walk you down real quick?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get home.
Let me do that. I'm going to stop the broadcast. If you want to hang out for a little bit, though, Josh, I'll be back up. Do you want to take about